So today, guys, we're gonna be talking about two main things that I feel like people have a little bit of a problem. Just basically understanding, Chinese being translated in English, and a lot of stuff got lost in translation. So basically, what we're gonna talk about is snapshotting and elemental mastery. To be able to properly talk about elemental mastery, you have to actually look at the stats. Now let's see. Because elemental mastery is different within everyone. For my Bennett example only has, you know what? So now my Bennett is sitting at 92 elemental mastery. If we look at his stats, he will be doing 41% overload, supercharge, electrocharge, shattered. Shattered is basically breaking ice, by the way. Um, and actually, what I think, uh, don't quote me on this, but I'm thinking Shattered might also be. I mean, I know for sure right now it's breaking ice, but what if, because the new style is getting introduced into the game, petrification with Zhongli. So what if after Zhongli, after the petrification ends, if that proc, I wonder if that proc Shattered also. But we could probably talk about that at a later time. But yeah, these are the stats with 92 elemental mastery is giving us. Now, if we look at Sucrose here, who was 288, these are the stats her elemental mastery will be giving her. Now, if someone see this, right, they would think elemental mastery, that's more of a support build. Basically, what elemental mastery is for, it's for the person who will be on field creating the elemental reactions. So I can't necessarily say it's mostly for the DPS. Of course, it would be better on the DPS because he is out on the field the longest. But it's for the person who is creating the elemental reaction. What I mean by that is, so Sucrose, for example, let's say I was to use Bennett and I was to hit an enemy, and then I was to use Sucrose, and I probably use her ult. That elemental mastery would stay there with her ult. It's kind of hard to explain because this is also where snapshotting comes into play with characters who ult stays on the field for longer duration. But I'll try to take it slow. So let's just give you an example. Oh, you got two test subjects right there. So basically, what I'll be doing to test elemental mastery would be I will hit one of them with my official, and as you can see, my Bennett has 92 elemental mastery. My official has 128. If you're thinking like any normal person would think, official once elemental reactions happen, official's damage would be more. And you won't be wrong for thinking that way, but you are. In a way, you're wrong. Let me just explain. Let me explain. So let's start with Bennett with the low damage. Now let's see if we could bring one of our test subjects over here. We got all two. Okay. So we hit him with Bennett. He has fire on him. That was a horrible test. If you notice, I saw 108. Uh, I saw 108 on. Let's see, so. Okay, 108 was a crit. I saw a 93 for Bennett's damage. 108 crit, 93 normal damage. Now let's test Official's damage. Now that 93 and 108, that was the elemental reaction. I don't exactly want more than two. So charge. I'll hit him. He is full of electric. but it's gonna run out by the time it comes. I'll hit Q2. Oof, this will down to 5K. Okay. Now, oh, it ran out. Okay. 93. There we go. And as if we notice, Bennett, we did the test with Bennett, we saw a 93 for non-crit. We did the test with Fischl, we saw a 93 non-crit. Now you're wondering, yo, Rocco, why is it that Bennett and Fischl, who was totally different elemental mastery, Bennett obviously has a lot less. Why did Bennett and Fischl, why did Bennett and Fischl elemental reaction was exactly the same? And that's where I'll answer you and say elemental mastery doesn't proc off of who initially started it, which would be the case better than Fischl, but it procs based on who is on the field at the time. So in this case, sucrose is the common denominator. So sucrose was on the field at the time for both of them. So the elemental reaction proc based off of her elemental mastery. That's why both of the numbers was exactly the same. So it doesn't matter what elemental mastery Bennett and Fischl had, as long as the last person to proc the elemental reaction, that's who the elemental mastery is based off of. So in some cases you might want to think, oh, so I should just build my characters, all my DPS for the elemental mastery and forget about the support. True, and no. Because if you like me, you're constantly rotating between your teammates. So in a battle, yes, probably Klee might be the one out on the field for the longest, but she won't necessarily proc all of the elemental reactions. So it's good to give each of your characters, especially ones that you know going to be procking the elemental reaction. It's best to give them a good amount of elemental mastery. And this is actually a sucrose come into play on why she is a top tier support slash DPS because one of her talents is she gives once her ult does damage, she gives 20% of her elemental mastery to everyone. And if you build sucrose, did I say fish on the first time? I meant sucrose. If you build sucrose purely on support, you would maximize her elemental mastery. Now, that won't necessarily be bad, but it's not totally good. But I guess since it's sucrose, it's all right because elemental mastery does fall off the more you put. So it's bad if you have none, and it's also I wouldn't say it's totally bad, but it's not as worth when you get too much. So you would want to find your nice even ground. But honestly, if you're building sucrose purely for support, that's just basically support your team, I can't even recommend going for elemental mastery or not. Because if you notice, the 93, even though she had 200 and something elemental mastery, the 93 still was a low number because she does not have damage. So I even if you're building a support, I cannot recommend like just purely building them as a support because you won't get any benefits on that if you're trying to maximize your damage, of course. So I'm gonna talk a bit quick of the ideal artifacts you would want on a DPS type of build. Like I picked this one. I picked my chest because she had this little piece on her, and which is absolutely broken. This is like legit for me, probably for anyone. Like best piece you could ever get, ever. 5-star attack percent on the hourglass. Attack percent on the hourglass. You have your elemental mastery here. You have 10% crit rate. 10% crit rate is so big because if you actually think about it, if you get 5%, I mean, if you get 10% crit rate here, 10% crit rate here, 10% crit rate, 10, 10, like in your sub stats, that's 50% crit rate, and 50% crit rate is the sweet spot. So once you get that, you could legit um use your main stat for whatever you want. Like in this case, I use my main stat for crit damage, which is big, big. So my ideal stat for DPS for Hourglass would be attack percent main stat, elemental mastery, crit rate, crit damage, and whatever else. In this case, energy recharge. So perfect. For my flower, since flower is always HP, flat HP at the start, it would be crit rate. This crit rate is kind of bad, but it would be crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, elemental mastery. I mean, I don't really care about the elemental mastery too much, but it's very OP to have. In this case here on this flower, I roll elemental mastery every single time, and so the crit rate stats, crit damage stats, all of it is bad. So I would replace that when I get the chance. For my feather, the main stat is always flat attack, so it'd be I would want crit rate, crit damage. I don't have it here, but I would want crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, and anything else. Hourglass, I already show you. This is best possible stats I could ask for. For my cup, you basically want to strategize on what your DPS is or any character is going to be doing. In this case, my official does a lot of electro damage because I constantly have an all zone on the field. So I went for electro bonus damage. So in this case, I want electro bonus damage, crit rate, crit damage, attack percent in my substats. And I know Demon Kim, he did a video on the best goblet type stats, meaning do you want bonus damage, elemental bonus damage, or physical bonus damage? And he also did a video on crit damage versus attack percent. Basically the run of it would be elemental bonus damage scales harder than attack percent. So even though this is 46 attack percent, this amount of elemental bonus damage would scale harder than that amount of attack percent. So basically for your goblet, you always want to prioritize which one it is. So if your person physically attacks a lot, you would want physical bonus damage. If in my case, if you do a lot of elemental damage, you would want elemental bonus damage. But we will talk about snapshotting. Basically, what snapshotting is you frame, that's how you would frame a picture. You frame that moment in time on your stats, basically. So let's see, I'll use Fischl for example. Let's see if we can pull this through. So basically, if we look at Fischl, I summon on Salve, and he does 1,003. Oh wow, that's what hurts. 4,340 something, 48 or something. And so basically, what Snapshot would do is you see that amount of attack which she does. If she was to get a buff at that time, wait, did she get a buff? If she was to get a buff at that time, like for example, Bennett's ult, and Bennett's ult was to run out, it would frame her stats in time for the duration, for the extended duration of the ability. So basically, Bennett ult lasts what, 10 seconds? Yeah, Bennett ult lasts 12 seconds. So let's say Bennett ult was about to run out, and then Fischl Bird lasts 10 seconds. So let's say Bennett's ult was to run out, and Fischl Bird still remained on the field. That bonus it got from Bennett's ult would remain in play. So basically, let's see if we can do it here. We got Bennett's ult. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Now, if you notice, Bennett's out is over, but it's still doing. Last time it hit, it was doing 4,300 something. Now it's doing 4,400. And Bennett out was over, and it still had that bonus attack boost. So that's basically what snapshotting is. It took the stats from Bennett's out, and even though it was over, it kept the stats and yeah, basically kept rolling with it. So if we use again, you can see, wow, that hurts. Back to 4,300. So basically, it took the stats from Bennett's out and used it. And this works for anything. So, um, let me say an example. So if you have like Barbara on your team and she have like Tales of the Dragon, it gives like, and Master Plan gives like 48% attack boost. So if you use Tales of the Dragon and it lasts for 10 seconds, you use Tales of the Dragon, well, not use it because it's not an ability to use, but you switch from Barbara, Tales of the Dragon activate, it gives whoever switched on the field that attack boost, and basically they keep that for 10 seconds. Now, if you was to use an ability, not just official E or officials out, any ability that lasts on the field for extended duration, it would keep that bonus and roll with it. So that's basically what snapshot is. It frames your stats in time and keep it for an entire duration.